What is a tokenized real-world asset, and how is that being used today?
Yeah, it's such a great question. And I think that so many people use the RWA language and they don't know what that means. So one of the things that I love about our story and our journey on tokenization, so we've been tokenizing assets on Stellar since the beginning. Those a lot of times were fiat-backed assets, so those assets that were like either dollar-backed, or they were real-backed, or they were yen-backed. Those assets have been built on Stellar for the last, probably for the last 10 years. Like we really were focused on, we wanted to move value with stablecoins. So we were using that stablecoin language and that for a really long time. So those are like the first assets that really came out kind of on any network. In 2019, I had been at the foundation for like 5 months, 6 months. And we had our first Meridian, which is our annual conference. And right after Meridian, I saw an SEC filing from Franklin Templeton. And in 2019, in November 2019, they went to the SEC to get approval to build a money market fund on Stellar. They hadn't talked to us. We had no idea. Like, this is the beauty of open source technology. They had found the technology themselves. And so they started building, and they got the SEC's permission to be able to move in that direction. We've now obviously spent a bunch of time with them, but Franklin Templeton was the first money market fund to issue, and it issued on Stellar. So if you just think about your traditional money market funds, you sometimes have checks associated with them if they're in bank accounts, like what we consider bank accounts traditional, and you get yield. You get usually like they're treasury backed, US treasury backed, so you get yield on them. Well, what Franklin Templeton did as the first player to move to this is they actually put it all on chain. And they wanted their books and records to be on chain. They didn't want it to just be like this asset that they still used all of the underlying old infrastructure. They wanted to move it all on chain. And so that's what they did. And the SEC allowed them, at first they had to do training wheels to use the old databases, and then they actually and Stellar at the same time, and then they got to drop the old databases. So Franklin Templeton's money market fund was the first one that was built. It's truly that all the books and records are on Stellar. Even though they've issued on other chains, their books and records sit on Stellar. And part of the reason for that is that Stellar had already had clawback functionality, all the things like compliance tools. It was built into the network layer. And so Franklin really FT took and used those assets. And so that was the first one. They issued officially and publicly, I think, 2 years ago, and they've been growing that asset the whole time.